Welcome to the Blanket Fort.
Woo-woo.
We're back. What are we talking about today, Emma?
TV shows.
Yes.
Kids TV shows?
Yeah. So specifically kids TV we'll talk about, although other stuff as well.
Yeah.
Stuff that Lily's into now when she was younger, stuff we liked as a kid. We'll just explore all that stuff. This episode is called The Streaming Generation. So it's another night in the Crippen household and it's time to unwind, have a break from the tantrums. We've got a lot of them at the moment,
yeah.
if you've got a toddler.
Sorry, I'm interjecting. My one yesterday was I did not open the banana properly.
Yeah.
And somebody was
Terrible.
laid on the floor crying. And then I was trying to put the banana back in the peel because apparently she didn't want the banana totally naked. She wanted the peel still attached so she can hold it.
Well, that's how you eat a banana.
Well, I thought she wanted it cut up. So I was like, took it all off, was going to cut it up. And then she was very upset. And then I gave her another one. I had to then sacrifice one banana. I ended up freezing it for a smoothie. And I had to give her another banana so she was happy. Doing it the right way.
The banana meltdown.
Banana meltdown.
Sounds like the great banana meltdown.
Well, I remember I was just like, it's just a banana. Are we really going to be this upset because I didn't do it the way you wanted to? But apparently, when you're turning 2, that is the kind of thing that just triggers you and you're all over the place.
Definitely. Well, we're here now and we can relax and unwind from the great banana meltdown or whatever's happening in your life. And we can chat about our experiences of being parents whilst we do a craft activity. I'm Elliot. I'm the tall one, and with me is Emma, the short one.
The short one. I wouldn't say. Well, I always say I'm not that short, but when people see me, they're like, "You're pretty short."
Yeah, I always think, we can never really see ourselves from other people's perspectives,
No.
but I always think we must look a little odd together.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, you often see quite a lot of couples that are like distinctly different heights. Don't you?
I think it's probably harder it's the other way around because you don't see as many tall women with short men, whereas there's a lot
True.
of men that are taller than their wives.
There you go. There's an insight into who we are, the tall one and the short one. What craft activity are we doing today? I think we are doing a Disney scratch art thing.
Oh, if you're
I say we. I mean
if you're
me.
watching this, I want to fully say I had no part in this Disney thing, because it really annoys me that he hasn't fully done it. So if you're watching,
Apparently my craft wasn't good enough.
pay attention because there are a lot of bits he misses, and you can be as annoyed as me when you're watching and want to take the thing and finish off for him.
I quite liked the artistic thing of it being like little streaks in it. I didn't want to get like every little dot scratched off.
Okay.
I liked the little
Let
streaky...
us know in the comments if people liked the scratchy nature of it and they thought that was nice, or if they were like me and they would have preferred it just complete.
Oh dear, this is not going to go well. Anyway, you have to stay tuned to the end to see what it turns out like and see if you agree with Emma that it's just not good.
I'm not saying it's not good, sweetie. I'm just saying...
I mean, there's not a lot of skill involved in it. I just have to scratch it.
To me, it's not complete.
Well, my incomplete craft
Yeah.
of Disney princesses. Who's your favourite Disney princess?
Mulan, probably. It's my favourite growing up.
Who's my favourite Disney princess?
You haven't seen that many.
Not old Disney.
No, yeah. He's seen a lot of new Disney. You've not watched Brave much. Probably Rapunzel. You've seen her quite a lot.
Yeah, I reckon so. Or like Moana's a Disney princess now, isn't she?
Lily's a huge fan of Moana.
Yeah.
You probably have watched that the most, actually.
So we've come to that time to share a parenting achievement that we've unlocked as parents. A bit tongue-in-cheek. It's not necessarily a positive achievement or just something that's happened in the life of being a parent that we can all relate to.
Had you come up with one this time? Is that what was happening?
I said one of our, so-called achievements was that, as we're talking about kids' TV today, kids' TV has kind of had a lot of impact on Lily. She's a big fan of various TV programs, isn't she?
Yeah.
So much so that in our desperate attempts to get her to walk.
Yeah, you know when you're in that stage where everybody else's kid's walking and you really want your child to walk because everybody's like, oh, my child's been walking for ages. And you're like, ours has shown no interest because she could crawl really fast.
Yeah.
So she thought it was a complete waste. And I thought it was going to be a touching moment where they walk to you, you know, like in Bluey.
In Bluey, yeah.
Where they're like, oh, why did I start walking? Because you saw something you really liked or really wanted, and she like walks towards her mum. And I was like, it's going to be that moment. They're going to walk to one of us. No, she walked to Shaun the sheep, who was on TV.
Yeah, she was so engrossed that she kind of forgot she was stood up and then just wandered across the room.
Although
I wandered towards Shaun the sheep, I think.
Yeah, but my dad interjects that he thinks it's because she has farmer blood in her, and she was walking to get the sheep. So it makes me feel a bit better.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Emma grew up on a farm. Your dad was a sheep farmer.
He was.
Which explains Lily's enjoyment of Shaun the sheep.
Well, to be fair, she's quite obsessed with sheep and donkeys at the minute. Seems to be her main animals.
True. I mean, we should have predicted that it would be something like that, given she first started to crawl to go get a packet of baby wipes. We tried all these things to get her moving forward.
Yeah.
She was moving backwards fine, but moving forwards... we thought, we'd tempt her with various things, but no, she just crawled over to get a packet of wipes.
Because she loved wipes as a baby.
Anyway, there we go. There's our achievement unlocked for this episode. Let us know what...
Don't expect a touching moment.
Let us know what achievement you've unlocked as a parent. What did your child walk to, or what influences TV had, or
try and really annoy me. Tell me your child walked to you and it was really lovely and like a moving moment.
Yeah,
and I'll just sit there going like, oh,
that's great.
That sounds lovely. What are we starting off with? What Lily likes or what we grew up with?
Let's start with what Lily likes.
Okay.
It's evolved a lot over...
It has.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, some parents are quite strict with TV.
We started out being pretty strict.
We started out quite strict. I mean, I know there's a lot of research that a lot of screen time isn't great for kids. But, as parents, you sometimes have to compromise, and sometimes you can't do without it.
Sometimes you just need downtime as well.
Yeah. But we always have this theory that a lot of these studies and things, they don't really take into account what you watch.
Yeah.
So our thing is we're
also,
not...
the studies are very... Sorry, this is a critical thing. I think a lot of the studies are very short-sighted. They're not doing long-term effects because nobody has had like the experience most time of growing up with certain programs and seeing how that affects behavior. So I can think it's fair enough to go, this program can do this. Like maybe because the characters are behaving badly, the child copies off that behavior and therefore they're acting badly. But a lot of it, I'm like, we don't know. We haven't had long enough studies to establish what the good or bad links are to a lot of these things.
I think most of the studies are also pitting it against like engaging or outdoor activities. Like they're saying like screen time alone is not as stimulating.
Oh, and that's fair.
That's 100% true. But
because they're
not taking into account children that are doing both.
Yeah. So like with Lily, she would not sit and watch TV all morning. Or as much as sometimes I would like her to when we're trying to complete a task. And I'm like, can you sit there and watch this for a bit? She'll watch for 10, 15 minutes and then she's kind of over it. This is, I think because she was a COVID baby, she does have to go out every day and do something. No matter if I want her to or not, we're going to have to go out and do park or shop or something just to get out of her system. Because if not, she's going to be a nightmare sat indoors all day.
Yeah, and because we do quite a lot with her, because she goes out every day, we do something, we go outside, we have activities. She now goes to nursery twice a week and they do lots of engaging stuff with her. We're a bit more lax about how much screen time we have. And like you say, it's not actually if there were signs that she was getting really attached to it.
If she preferred it to going outdoors, I would be more worried.
Yeah.
But currently she still far prefers being outside.
Yeah.
So
and like even in the car journeys when we're trying to get her to watch TV, it doesn't always work.
Yeah, could be another episode, travelling with a toddler, nightmare. Once again...
Well, for us, not for everyone.
No, once again, my sister Becky, her children, because they've had to journey all the way to Morocco from France by car are angels because they're just used to it. They're just happy and content. They'll fall asleep, they'll sit and read, they'll watch something. Whereas Lily, you can put any show on the tablet when we're in the car and she's not interested because she just wants to be out. She doesn't want to be sat in the car. We've gone off on a tangent.
Yes, yeah. But anyway, so from a quite early age, we allowed her to watch stuff, really. Early on, we had like that music thing. Music.
So I think before she was getting towards 1, we just used to watch, what was it? McClung music?
Yeah, I think it's like chalk drawings and music.
Yeah, it's a YouTube channel. I would highly recommend it. It's really relaxing music. We did a lot of, they had like a Disney playlist, and we'd put that on, and there's somebody just draws in chalk, like a lot.
You know, like
Disney
often
songs.
they recommend like classical music for like babies. They say
it did have classical
development.
music on there. It's just I didn't prefer to listen to that. So we'd often choose
we didn't
Disney.
quite go that far. I mean, I don't know. Again, I don't know if the studies are true or not, but
they said it's true for the first so many minutes it makes your brain work.
Oh, really?
But after that point, it has no.
Oh, yeah, you told me something about this, didn't you? About how like a lot of classical music is quite unpredictable.
Yeah.
Whereas pop music follows like
and they said that's what makes your brain kind of.
It has to work to think about what's happening in the music. But anyway, we enjoyed it more because it was like Disney music and Beatles music and other
and you could pop it on and it was a nice
stuff.
background kind of ambience.
Yeah. I was trying to remember, was it around 6 months onwards, I think she began to like really
look at things more.
Start engaging with TV and be like, she kind of has a preference for stuff we watch.
Yeah, I think that's
true. And we began to, and then as we headed towards a year, she most definitely had like her favourite TV shows.
Oh,
even
definitely.
though
from 1 onwards, I'd say she definitely had favourites.
I mean, we very much are in control of what options she has.
Yes, I would say all her shows have to meet the requirements that we will enjoy them. So it's not necessarily an educational point. It's a point where I know some of my nephews watch Blaze and the Monster Machines, and I cannot stand that program. Like, A, the song gets stuck in your head. B, now, it's not that it doesn't teach you stuff, because it actually does teach you things about cars. It's just, I find it very, very dull, and I cannot watch that every day. So we made a conscious decision that she will only see things that we kind of approve of. Which is easy because we only really watch Disney Plus.
Yeah, we watch a lot of kids stuff anyway.
Yeah.
But we're a little bit snobby in that we quite like, Pixar and Disney films.
Yeah.
Over, I don't know, cheap animation.
Yeah.
That's made for kids.
Yeah, so I really don't like the animation of Peppa Pig. And that's... I would argue I'm a bit of a snob. I don't really like the messaging. But my main problem is with the animation. In that I find it very ugly to look at.
Yeah.
And therefore I don't want to watch it. So Lily hasn't ever watched that.
Yeah, so her favourite shows are quite influenced by what our favourite shows are.
Yeah.
But within that, she's definitely picked out...
Oh, yeah. She does a lot of influence on it.
So from very early on, she liked Winnie the Pooh
and
Moana.
The Pooh and Moana. Which was a surprise. I did not
They're not ones that we kind of went to.
No, I did enjoy Winnie the Pooh growing up, but I wouldn't say it was my favourite thing. And Moana, obviously, we put it on one day and she absolutely loved it. And we had to keep, like, she was insistent we'd have to keep watching it. And it was really interesting because one of my friends at the time, I was talking to they were the same age, and their little boy also loved Moana just as much as Lily. And we found it really funny because we were like, what's it about it that makes it so appealing to that age range? Like, they're not that old, but they both really love... I don't know if it's the animals or the music or everything, but they really loved it.
It's interesting as well. My taste of like Disney films and Pixar films has changed quite a lot in that before.
In what you've been subjected to.
Well, I think in the past I was drawn more to the ones that had a bit more depth and were a bit more engaging for adults. And some of the newer Pixar's or sequels and remakes and things that I always thought, why did you make that? There's nothing to it. What was the point of it? Now I see, well, actually they're really good for, younger children because there's a lot less peril. They're a lot more light-hearted. So, for example, Monsters University.
Yes.
I was never that bothered about it when it came out. I was like, well, this doesn't stand up to the original.
I'd never seen it till we watched it with Lily.
That's true. I was a big fan of Monsters, Inc. when I was growing up. Did you watch it?
Yeah, I enjoyed Monsters, Inc. But once again, I was a little bit older than you, so I was slightly... Like, it wasn't as big a deal, because I was slightly older child.
Yeah, and the same with Finding Dory. So I was a big fan of Finding Nemo growing up. And as an adult, when Finding Dory came out, I was like, this is alright, but it's a bit kiddie, like what, you know. But actually, both those films, Lily is a huge fan of, because they're much more suitable to
especially
her
with
age.
Monsters University, because you don't actually see them scaring children, which I think is the bit she wouldn't like, because she's quite empathetic. She doesn't like people. Like with Winnie the Pooh, the only bit she gets scared at is because Piglet is scared. So, like, if the character's scared, she's scared, but if the character's not scared, she's fine. So it's good with Monsters University, there's no actual children who you see be scared.
Yeah. I mean, she does go around pretending to be a monster now.
Oh, yeah. She now hides behind doors and puts her hand round like she's a monster coming out of the door. And my parents had not experienced this game before. They were like, what's she doing? And I was like, she's a monster now. She's coming to open the door and scare us.
But now we've hit 2 or approaching 2 years old.
2.
We've definitely broadened out, and she's more engaged with a bigger range of shows.
And she imitates them a lot more.
Which means you have to be more careful as well what you show her.
So I'm slightly worried, though, she's just going to grow up with an Australian accent, though. So she really loves The Wiggles and Bluey. Her 2 top things to watch. Yeah. Wiggles, because it's all... And I actually really like... I grew up, I think, knowing what The Wiggles were, but I didn't ever... I explained to Elliot. I remember on one of our videotapes, there was an advert for a Wiggles show happening in the UK, and it was happening on my birthday. I didn't know what The Wiggles were, but I remember as a child being like, oh, they did a thing on my birthday, that's fun. But now that I know what The Wiggles are, I'm like, I also would have enjoyed that as a child. A lot of singing, a lot of dancing.
We should explain what these 2 are. We've not explained anything else, but, you know, the others are Disney films, you know, I'm sure you've heard of a lot of them. But if you haven't heard of Wiggles or Bluey, I feel like we'll talk about them a fair bit, so we should explain.
The Wiggles are like a group of adults that dress up in colourful... Like,
they all have a colour, don't they?
They all have a colour. It's like yellow, purple, red and blue. I'm sure if you're Australian, you know very well what the Wiggles are. But if you are not...
Or maybe slightly older than us. I think they were popular before.
I think they were, but then I know my younger nephew, who's only like a few years younger than me, they were really into the Wiggles, but I think they had the video. So you may have grown up really into them, but they're well known for singing Fruit Salad. Yeah. Yummy, yummy.
And having that big red car.
Yeah. And they've got like people that are dressed up as a dog and a dinosaur. And it's very good because it's very, I want to say wholesome, but not in a weird way. Like as in, it's very like, there's no peril or danger or it's all very...
It's just like singing nursery rhymes and songs and traditional stuff.
But in a very active way.
Yeah.
And it's really funny because they've like adapted it to try and make it more themed for new audiences. So there's a song about electricity and how it can be dangerous. So, you know, don't touch plugs. Which I enjoyed that. And I thought, you know what? They've like broadened out. They're like, we're going to address some things that maybe modern children are going to have to actually think about.
And it's good because it's just a free show on YouTube. Yeah. They upload videos. Yeah. You can watch them all.
And Lily wastes loads of energy because she loves dancing along to them.
Yeah.
And it's nice that she kind of learns words like head and stuff and, you know.
Yeah.
Through doing it.
And she has her favourite Wiggle episodes or songs.
Well, she even had her favourite Wiggle, but that Wiggle left.
Yeah, Emma Wiggle.
Yeah.
She's got her own thing now, but does. I don't think it's quite as...
It's not as dancey, so I don't think Lily would like it as much, which is sad. But there is a new Wiggle, so I think that'll become her favourite.
But Skimmer-a-Dinky-Dink, or however you say it.
Skimmer-a-Dinky-Dink, Skimmer-a-Dinky-Dink.
That's a big favourite. We often have to do that in the car.
Yeah.
She'll just start... We've seen her singing it herself we've seen her singing that song to herself in bed before, singing herself to
before
sleep.
she goes to sleep.
Doing the actions, lying in bed.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. She's so cute.
We were like, does she do that every night? She just sings to herself? But yeah, she really enjoys that.
So our two favourite shows, The Wiggles on YouTube and Bluey, another Australian
I think
produce.
Most parents will know what Bluey is.
I think, if you're
you do not,
young family, modern family.
Highly recommend it. Because it was recommended to us, and once again I was like...
Yeah, one of our friends recommended it. I don't think we'd heard of it. I think we'd seen it on Disney Plus.
I'd seen it on Disney Plus, but once again, I was like, it's just going to be another stupid cartoon. I don't really... And I like anime, I like cartoons, but I thought, like, it's a kid's cartoon, just going to be, not that interesting. And my friend basically told me, she was like, it's great for their imagination. Really recommend watching it.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
We were like, okay.
We'd really recommend it.
We would now.
One of the definitely best kids TV show out there.
And even the behaviour the children show is A, realistic, but B, they show like them learning. So it shows them going like, oh, I've learned if I want to interrupt Dad in the episode, like I need to touch him and wait and not be polite and talk over him, and
Yeah, but that's the key thing, really. It's not really a show for kids.
No.
It's a show for parents. Like parents enjoy it because it gives you so many ideas of different ways of parenting. It gives
even just games.
Yeah.
Although I am worried Lily is going to enjoy the games that I find the most annoying on the show.
That's definitely what happens. I mean, we've spoken to other parents who have kids, older kids who watch Bluey, and you always have to play the Bluey games, and they always end up playing the ones that are the most annoying.
But like, this is my sister. You'll hear a lot about Becky. I remember because she knew we were avid Bluey fans. Her oldest son, Nassim, started watching it. And she called me up one day and was like, who is Tina? And I was like, why watching me? And she was like, well, he wants me to play a game and he keeps saying Tina. And I had to explain that that's an invisible giant. And you have to do what Tina says, or she like picks you up, or, sits on you. Yeah. And she was going, thanks for that. He just kept saying Tina. And I didn't know what I was doing. So also you have to be aware what games they will learn and have to pay attention so you can play along properly.
Yeah.
Because Becky was very confused about him just shouting Tina and not understanding what she was meant to be doing in this game.
Yeah, it's one of those shows. I mean, there's some shows, isn't there, where parents, you just sit your kid down and let them get on with watching it so you can go and cook or do whatever.
Yeah.
But Bluey's one where you enjoy watching it yourself. And when the first half of season 3 came out on Disney Plus, we sat down and watched it on an evening, like without Lily. Lily was in bed, and we were like, "Let's watch it." Well, the
problem is when you're with Lily, you can't often enjoy it because she half watches and half does something else. So you have to still be available for her to want to do something. As I said before, because she's like a 15-minute attention span with TV. You often have to be like, have it almost as background, and then you're doing something else alongside it.
Well, again, I think because she's an only child at the moment, and because I think because of being a lockdown baby as well, she's very used to our presence and being entertained a lot of the time. I mean, also because we both work from home, we're around all the time, so it's more like she likes us being in the room with her. She likes us to do stuff. So just watching TV is not as good as us playing with her. Not as good as
having some attention.
Which is good. Yeah. It's just frustrating at times.
Yeah.
We'll talk loads more about Bluey, I'm sure, in coming episodes.
Well, I just wanted to emphasise, I'm such a big fan. I watch the new episodes on TikTok. So Elliot hasn't even seen all these episodes yet. But I watch them when I hear, like, I'm on all the Bluey Facebook groups and they're like, new episodes come out, somebody's put it on TikTok. I'm like, right, I'm there. I'm there to watch the new episode.
Yeah, so the episodes have come out in Australia, but they've not come out on Disney here in the UK yet.
And there's a whole controversy. We might as well do an episode at one point on Bluey, but because Disney edits some of the episodes, because they think some bits are inappropriate. Which is hilarious in some regards because it's a children's TV show. I don't think any of it's inappropriate. But,
Yeah. Lily's recent birthday party was Bluey themed.
It was.
Again, whether that was for Lily's benefit or ours is debatable.
100%. my benefit.
But she does really enjoy Bluey. At the moment, she thinks all of the characters are called Bluey.
Well, I don't know. Oh, she thinks that's the breed of animal they are.
For a while, she was really good at saying bingo. We've got a bingo toy that she sleeps with every night.
And bingo is definitely her favourite. But the word she uses often is Bluey to ask for bingo.
Yeah. Anyway, before we move on, because we've talked a lot about Bluey, I just want to mention we haven't talked about one of the best bits of Bluey, from my point of view, is the portrayal of Bandit, the dad.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the things that makes Bluey really unique amongst kids' TV, which is it showcases a really involved father figure.
Yeah.
And, you know, a dad that is
Well,
not only active, but a really good parent.
There was a lot of criticism that they didn't show the mum enough in the first series. Or season, you know, depending where you're from, that's what you're going to say. But I actually really enjoyed that because we were commenting before that a lot of portrayals of dads are just the strict one in things, and they don't often get much of a empathetic side or a side where they play with their children, which may be generational, as in maybe that's what they thought a father's place was to do.
But also showcasing, you know, that the dad is involved in the parenting. And it's one of those things, isn't it? It's nice to see representation on TV, and it was nice, as we've already mentioned, we're quite modern parents in that way, that we kind of split stuff 50-50. I'm very involved with childcare and looking after Lily, and even as a baby, we'd split everything as much as we could. And so seeing, you know, Bandit as a dad on TV being...
who is active.
That involved, it's nice to show that it's becoming more normal.
Yeah. And that's an option. It doesn't just have to be one.
This is why we'll probably end up coming back to Bluey an awful lot, because there's a lot of social commentary within the show about parenting, about society, and it feeds just so much into some of the stuff we love to discuss. So you can comment below if you're watching this on YouTube, or engage with us over on Instagram. Our Instagram account is at don'twakethebaby_podcast. Or you can get more involved with us over on Facebook. We have a Facebook group chat where you can connect with us and other listeners and just share in the conversation. All the links to that are on our webpage, which is www.kairosmovement.org.uk/don'twakethebaby. And remember to stay tuned till the end to see, it depends how you do it. If you're watching on YouTube or listening, see or hear, use one of your senses to see what other crafting stuff some of our listeners have done and what other parenting tips people have sent in to share. What was your favourite TV show growing up?
I've got to remember the names now. I really liked, this is so back in, Pocket Dragons. Pocket Dragons, get ready, here they come. There was like a wizard.
This little bit is going to really highlight, as is often the case. I experienced very little culture growing up and know very little and remember very little. So a lot of things you talk about in your childhood, I just go...
They go completely over his head.
I have
he
no
doesn't
clue.
know.
What is that? What's Pocket Dragons?
They're a wizard. And these dragons that live in your pocket, his pocket, and they do like little adventures and get up to mischief. And I remember I really enjoyed that. There was another one. This is, I think, a lot of people in my generation, Cat's Eyes. And I can't remember quite, but it was like these cats. Somebody's going to correct me in the comments. Lived in these bins or something. I can't really remember. They were like puppets. It was a bit weird. This is, I think, a lot of early 2000 show were a bit weird.
That's true.
And Bodger and Badger, which I loved.
Yeah.
But do you actually see that one?
I saw a bit of it. So again, a distinct difference here is that I'm 2 years younger than you. So.
Well, 2.5.
Yeah, but it does make quite a big difference to what kind of shows we watched growing up.
Yeah, I mean, I think you saw less TV generally.
That's true. And I suppose if you're a parent of a different age as well, you might have very different, shows. There's a lot of stuff which is kind of...
Oh, and Rosie and Jim.
Oh, yeah, I watched Rosie and Jim.
I loved Rosie and Jim. My favourite character was the duck, though, which actually doesn't get that much view time in the whole show.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I don't know what my favourite shows were as a kid. I did watch things like Thomas the Tank Engine
Yeah.
and Fireman Sam
Yeah, we watched all
and
that.
Postman Pat.
Yeah.
You know, all that stuff I really
Yeah,
liked.
criticism. Why does Postman Pat now have, like, planes and stuff?
Oh, all three of those. They've,
Like,
ruined them with the reimagined. I mean,
yeah.
I'm sure some kids like them, but they are not as good as the originals.
Ridiculous.
Lily watches all those shows, but I
does.
make her watch on YouTube the old shows.
Yeah, he does.
I'm like, we are not watching
Not watching
new
the
Fireman Sam, new Thomas the Tank
I
Engine.
actually don't mind New Thomas, though, because there's one where they travel around the world, and I
There's
thought
lots of
that
different
was
ones,
pretty
isn't
fun.
there? And some of them
Yeah.
are okay. So how do you think things have changed from like when we were young to now? Obviously, they've redone a lot of shows and made them worse.
Yeah.
But they've also created new stuff like Bluey, which speaks to our culture now, which is very different
Yeah,
to what we
definitely.
grew up with. But there's also other differences, like, you know, when I was growing up, we only had like 4 or 5 TV channels.
Yeah.
That was it. You couldn't get
I think
Freeview where we
this
lived,
is-
and we didn't pay for Sky.
No, I had this discussion with my parents in that I said I think culture will change a lot in that, other than Elliot, most people who are in a similar age group, we all grew up with the same programs and you can really reminisce about them. I was like, nowadays, because you have so much choice, not everyone will grow up with the same programs.
Well,
So it'll be a much more diverse range of things.
yeah,
people
you only have to
watched.
speak to parents who are slightly older than us, and you
Yeah.
might be listening to this now and be the same, and think that a lot of the popular shows are things like In the Night Garden and
Yeah.
Paw Patrol, and they still are, but they still come from a few years ago when
Yeah.
everyone was watching the same thing
Yeah,
on
yeah.
live TV.
So, like, my nephews who are, once again, different sister, these are the sisters at the same age as me, some of them had children earlier, so at one point I'll draw a family tree, because it gets very confusing when I say my older nephews and my younger nephews. These are like middle nephews, so they're going to be about 10 next year, and he grew up with the Night Garden being a huge thing, like the Plinky Plonk and all that stuff, and Macca Packa. And Paw Patrol, all that stuff. Whereas even his younger brother doesn't really watch that.
I think the reason there is, as with a lot of these things, is because for a long time it was determined by what was the BBC showing. You know,
Yeah.
what was on
What
the different
options
channels.
did you have?
Yeah, and what was live. What did you catch when you come home from school or whatever?
Mm.
Whereas now it's just you can access anything you want at your fingertips on Disney, Netflix, YouTube. There's so many, you know, kids shows out there.
Yeah. And even Disney have even got a range that's called, what is it? Not vintage, but, you know, from back in the day. So they've got, like, Bear in the Big Blue House, which I loved growing up. And I've started, making... I say making, I am making her, Lily watch it. And she's actually really enjoyed Bear in the Big Blue House. And I forgot how educational it was. Like, as a child, it just goes over your head. You don't pay attention to the educational bits. But so when they were doing about weather... It's sunny, and now it's rainy, and there's a storm, and it was like, I didn't even remember any of that. I just remember the bear in the house and, like, the moon song.
I think a lot of old TV shows are coming back. I mean, I suppose as a lot of millennials have kids and grow up and they show their kids their old favourite shows, I think because you can access so much on demand these days and the old shows are freely available, they kind of have a new lease of life. There were a lot of puppets back in the day, weren't there?
There were a lot of puppets.
I mean, I kind of miss it. I like puppets.
Yeah, bring back the puppets. I really enjoyed it. And it was really clever. I didn't realise how much work was put into the puppetry. Whereas you're right, nowadays there is no... Other than on the Wiggles, they had Sesame Street characters on one time. I've not seen any puppets that Lily watches.
True. But again, I think that's why I really like Bluey, is that they put a lot of care and energy into it. You can tell the quality is really good.
Yeah, true.
Unlike some, you know, YouTube shows and things which are just like, well, let's just throw some animation together that will keep kids sat in front
occupied,
of a TV.
yeah.
But like, how much TV did you watch growing up? Were you allowed to, you know, watch anything you liked, or?
No, my parents, well, my dad was pretty lenient. I remember my mum had a big thing about The Simpsons, that she called it American trash, or American rubbish. We also really liked Paul O'Grady, the Paul O'Grady show. That was a big hit with us, because he had the dog on his desk and some guests on. And
see, another common theme for you is you like a lot of stuff that your parents like. So your parents would watch a lot of TV, and as kids, you would just watch what they were watching.
Yeah, exactly.
Mine was a bit different because my parents don't watch a lot of TV.
No.
I I mean, they watch lots of murder mysteries, so I've grown up with a long-term love of murder mysteries. But that was much older when I was like a teenager.
Yeah.
But because they didn't watch an awful lot.
Yeah, well, it's true. Whereas my parents quite enjoyed Paul O'Grady, so I would watch Paul O'Grady.
As she gets older, we'll have to decide what we do. And I'm sure others listening have older children who, you know, it's a very different scenario TV then, isn't it? It's about, well, I don't know, we'll have to encounter that when we get to it.
I think it's more when they can choose it themselves, because right now she needs one of us to click on the TV and say, like, what we want. Whereas I think once she has control of, I call it the Twitch. Nobody else calls it this. It's a family thing. They call it a remote. We call it
TV
a
remote,
Twitch.
yeah.
Once she's control of the Twitch, it'll be entirely up to her to a certain degree. I say to a certain degree because if I'm going to sit there and watch it, I'm still going to have a say about what we're watching. We didn't mention any Christian cartoons we watched growing up. Because Elliot comes from a Baptist background, and I come from I would say, very liberal Church of England.
That's true.
My mum took us to church, but Dad never went.
We haven't got time to go into it now. Maybe we could do a different episode that looks specifically at Christian TV stuff.
Yes, well, I just want to say I didn't really watch any of it, so you'll have to cover that.
Oh.
I only ever saw The Prince of Egypt, like the big
we
films,
could talk about that.
But I never saw any of that other stuff.
Yeah. VeggieTales.
Yeah, never saw it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we might not cover it because it's quite specifically Christian.
But also, I feel like I
up,
have no experience of it. So a lot of my Christian friends were like, "Oh, we used to love VeggieTales," and I'm like, "I have no idea what that is." But it seems so weird.
Weird?
Well,
it's like
it's
Christian stories
talking.
and stuff. Yeah, I mean, a lot of kids' TV is really weird, isn't it? That's why it was quite fun, these weird vegetables
and
talking.
People said they sang songs, and I remember I watched a bit of one and I was like, this is weird. Just, yeah.
I don't remember a lot of the Christian messaging from it, so I don't know how effective it is.
I also feel like it could be kind of insulting. Like, if you're like, Moses, I don't know, I've not watched it, is a potato. You know? Seems quite humorous.
I can't remember how it worked, whether they were
are they like real
characters from the Bible. I can't really remember. I just remember the tomato and is he a courgette or a cucumber?
You're asking the wrong person.
The
I've just
guy.
emphasised I've seen like one episode once.
But that is true. I mean, some Christians are quite keen on having their kids only watch Christian shows or Christian approved shows. We're not bothered about that.
No, but because YouTube or TikTok or something know, I don't know how I'm a Christian from watching certain things. They keep advertising like there's a Christian streaming thing.
Yes, there is. I've seen that.
Yeah. And in my head, I was like, that's really weird.
Yeah. I fundamentally disagree with that. I apologise if you're a parent out there who uses any Christian streaming, but
I mean, it might be good. Who knows?
Like,
but I
get the concept of you want your kid to watch safe stuff, age-appropriate stuff.
It just seemed very culty.
Yeah.
Like, I only want them to have this experience and this experience alone.
Yeah.
And I also then was like, does YouTube think I'm a bit of a weirdo? Like, they think I'd go for that as an advert.
How insulting, YouTube. You think I'm a weird Christian.
I can't remember if it was YouTube or TikTok. It was one of them.
No, I've had the adverts too.
And I was like, you think that's what I'd do? I don't know if we've discussed TV programmes that much.
We have a bit, but it's a broad topic. Like,
That's
we'll
true.
dive into other, TV shows more. Yeah. The content of them, I'm sure, in other episodes. We'll revisit.
I think we were going to do like what's good and bad, but honestly, I have too much of a thing where I enjoyed the early 2000s TV as a child. So
yeah, there's a lot of nostalgia for it, isn't it? It's strange thinking how the stuff Lily watches in the coming years will probably be nostalgic for her.
Yeah, that's true. It's going to be weirder because she'll be like, oh, you won't believe when they were young, they didn't even have that much animation. It was all puppets. You're so old.
Yeah, it's funny already that, I think kids can quite easily enjoy old stuff, but it's definitely true that Lily prefers some of the modern-looking animation.
Definitely, yeah.
You show her some stuff that's...
Well, it's like Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah.
She will watch the old Winnie the Pooh, but if she has a choice, she'll watch the new film. because she prefers that animation style, because that's kind of what she's used to, is a cleaner, more crisp animation.
Yeah. I wonder if it will change again, and that the current trend of this very cartoony 3D model type animation will become what they see as like classic animation. You know, like for us, we look back and go like, 2D hand-drawn animation. It was such a,
such an art
lovely time. That's very strange.
Yeah, it is.
So we have a parenting tip this week coming from Becky.
Relating to the topic of TV. So my sister Becky, the person I idolise a lot, has sent in this tip this week. And she says it mainly matters that you watch together as a family. So you watch it and you discuss what you're watching just to get that vocab still going. And it's more important kind of what you're watching and who you're watching it with. But she did say, she gave me a second tip, that when they're older, it's good to get them involved in making the decision. So she said, she often says to Nassim, like, in the morning, you're allowed 20 minutes of TV. And he was saying, well, Pokemon's 25 minutes an episode. So I'd actually like to watch a whole episode. So it's that kind of thing where she said, have a conversation about how much TV they'd like to watch and, get them involved in it so it doesn't feel like you're just making the decision arbitrarily. Arbitrarily?
Arbitrarily.
Arbitrary? Is that a word?
You've confused me now. I don't know.
A word like that.
It is a word, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's great. That's a good tip.
Good tip.
You don't have to agree with the tips on this show.
Well, I would say it'd be quite hard for us. Well, Lily only watched his 15 minutes, but it'd be quite hard for us. I think Lily will be a lot stronger and opinionated when she's older than Becky's son Nassim is.
And if you don't do it, don't worry. Like, you have to compromise as a parent.
I think her main point was the best point. Watch it together and use it as like a teaching.
True, but I mean, a lot of parents we know, and we do as well, you use it as a distraction. Like, you plonk your kid down so you can get on and do something else. So, yeah.
It doesn't work with Lily, though, does it? That's my main problem.
It's true.
Yeah. In fact, you're very lucky if your child does sit in front of the TV and just doesn't want to do anything else. That's really nice to have those few minutes to do something.
True. So do send us in your parenting tip. We'll feature every episode a parenting tip from a listener. So it doesn't have to be as expansive and detailed as that. It could be one line, very simple, whatever your tip is. We'll post out on our Instagram what topics we're doing, so you can give us a tip related to our theme. But yeah, do send them in over on Instagram at don'twakethebaby_podcast. Send us a message or tag us, or however you want to do that, whatever. Click the buttons, contact us, or leave a comment on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. If you're in our Facebook listeners community, Facebook group or Facebook group chat, you can just pop it in there, and we'll source some more tips for future episodes to share with you. That's it for this episode. Join us next time. Do share this with other parents other friends you have. Hopefully you liked it. Give us a like if you're on YouTube.
If you didn't like it, don't bother sharing it.
Share it anyway and tell them how rubbish it was. So this is a terrible podcast. You should listen to it.
That's a great idea. Yeah, do that.
Yeah, definitely. You can share your crafting images with us if you've done a craft at home, and we'll feature them. Pop over to YouTube.
Or if you're northern, you can send the crafting elements you've done.
But see you next time. For now, sleep well.
Good night.